Hi everyone, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create an Anthony Goicolea inspired multiples image in Photoshop. So the first thing that I'm going to do is locate my images in Adobe Bridge, and just when we're thinking about how to photograph images for this multiples technique, again it's really important to make sure that we're using a tripod, and also try and ensure that your exposures between each photograph are as consistent as possible. You don't want one photograph being highly overexposed and another one being really underexposed, because when you merge those images together, your different figures aren't going to look convincing and appear as though they all belong within that one composition. So I've actually used the star rating system to select the images that I would like to work with and create into my multiples image. So I'm just going to select that first star rated image, hold down the shift key on my keyboard, and then click on the last star rated image to select all 5. Right click and open in Photoshop. So those 5 files have opened individually in Photoshop, and the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I'm working with the Move tool, which is the first tool on the left hand side toolbar in Photoshop here. So click the Move tool, and then you also just want to make sure that you can see your layers window as well, because we're going to be working quite closely with this little layers window. If you can't see this in Photoshop, just click window in your top menu bar and make sure that your layers option has a little tick next to it. And the next thing we need to do is merge all of these 5 individual files into one file. So these 5 files are sitting along this menu bar here. I'm just going to click one of these files and drag it off of that menu bar so that I have one file sitting on top, and which is this one here, and another file sitting behind. And basically these 4 files which are sitting behind this image, which is sitting on top here, are going to be dragged into this image here. And to do that, I'm literally just going to click on the image behind, click it and drag it onto this image sitting on top, and then just let go of my mouse so that it drags and drops into this one file here, and then just exit that file once I've successfully dragged it over so that you're not doubling up. And repeat that process by clicking and dragging those images into that one file until you have all of your images sitting in the one file. So you can see in my layers window here I have five layers, 5 images. You'll also notice that one of these layers has a strange little padlock on it, and I just want to double click that padlock, and it's got a window which says new layer. Just click OK just to get rid of that padlock. The next thing I need to do is make sure that my files are sitting really evenly on top of each other, and obviously you can see that they aren't. When I've dragged them in to the one file, they've sort of just dropped randomly within this file. So I'm just going to click off all of the eyes in my layers window just to show my very first layer here, and you can see that layer is sitting perfectly within the composition, and I'm just basically going to work upwards. So click on that second layer, layer 1, and you can see that layer 1 is not sitting perfectly on top of layer 0. So click on layer 1 and use your move tool just to move that image around so that it snaps into place. When you bring it close to the edge, it will automatically just snap into the edge, snaps into place so that it's sitting perfectly on top of the image behind it. And repeat that process for all of the layers in your file. So it's really important that you've clicked on the layer you want to do things to, or you want to move. So you can turn it on, but you've got to click it and then move it. So you've now got 5 files that are all sitting perfectly on top of one another, and you can just kind of go through and double check those. You may have to do some further fine tuning, maybe using the arrow keys on your keyboard, but we're just going to leave it there for now. The next process is relatively easy. You've got we're working with 5 layers, which means that we need to put layer masks on the top 4 layers. So to add a layer mask, I'm going to do, there's a number of ways, but it's really important that you add a layer mask following this particular way. Click layer in the top menu bar in Photoshop here. Click layer and scroll down to layer mask, and you need to select hide all. So you want to be working with a black layer mask for this process. Apply that to the top 4 layers. I'm working with 5 layers, so the top 4 layers. If you're working with more or less, the top layers accept that very last one. So layer mask, hide all, then select the next layer mask, hide all, until you've done that, or applied that hide all layer, that black layer mask, to all of your layers except that last layer, which just to make it really obvious, we might just call that last layer the base layer. And now if I click the eyes off of those layers, you can see that my layer mask has hidden all of those different images. So the only image I can currently see at the moment, no matter how many times I press these little eyes on and off, is I can only see this base layer, which is this first image here. I'm now going to activate these layer masks. So to activate these layer masks, I'm going to use a white paintbrush. So black layer mask, white paintbrush to activate it, and black paintbrush to deactivate it, or erase any mistakes that I may make. So I can click on my first layer, layer 1. Make sure you've actually selected the layer mask, so you can select the image, and that will just do things to the image, but we just want to apply things to the layer mask, because with the layer mask we can erase, and we can go kind of back and forth. So make sure you've selected your actual layer mask. Select the paintbrush tool, or the brush tool, and make sure that you've selected the white color down here. Use these little arrows to flip between the black and the white colors for the paintbrush. Change your opacity to 100, and you can also adjust the hardness and softness of the brush here. I'm just going to leave mine in the middle just for now, and adjust the size of my brush. I'm going to make it quite big because I don't actually remember where my image of Miss Dempsey is. So I can see Miss Dempsey is going to appear over here, opening up the cupboard. and I'm just painting with the white paintbrush tool to bring Miss Dempsey into this composition. So you can see that there's a little bit of a halo around here. I've kind of chopped off the first image of Miss Dempsey chopping a cucumber. I've erased her elbow, so I need to correct that. So I'm working with the black paintbrush or the white paintbrush at the moment rather. To correct that, I can now use the black paintbrush. Maybe make a smaller brush. And you could also adjust the opacity as well if you want to maybe sort of got a bit of a dark halo around here. I just want to correct that and soften that slightly. And just kind of zoom in and out. And then I'll click on, once you're happy with that, or you're happy with that for now, you can then click on your next layer and use the white paintbrush to bring in that next figure into your composition. So it's a really good idea just to start by just kind of locating all of the figures within your composition. So click on that next layer mask. So I'm just kind of quite roughly just bringing all of these images of Miss Dempsey into the composition. And the last thing that I would do is I now just need to make all of these images look really or kind of work really seamlessly within this composition, look as if I have just taken one photograph of 5 people rather than stitch something together on Photoshop. And you can see that I've stitched it together because you get these kind of brush marks between the different exposures or the slightly different exposures with the different images, and sort of the erased back here where the paper overlaps this image of Miss Dempsey looking in the cupboard. So I need to fix that up, doing some kind of closer up work with my paintbrush. So make sure you've selected the right layer, and I'm just going to show you how you can sort of go back and forth with your black and white paintbrush, adjusting the size and the hardness of your brush. So I'll be working with a black paintbrush just to come in here and come really close to that paper. And remember, if you make a mistake, you just go back and forth between those two different coloured paintbrushes. Great. So I'm going to leave it there because I reckon that's a pretty good demonstration for everybody just to get started on this process. But just to end the video, I thought I'd show you what the final image of Ms. Dempsey actually looks like. So you can see that everything's been cut out really nicely here. There's now no more sort of brush marks. They've all been erased using the black and the white paintbrush, just to make all of these images kind of really seamlessly sit within this one composition. And it really does look as if this is one photograph